You are listening to the Product Biz Podcast, episode number 3, overcoming the fear of, but my products are just too simple. If you've ever thought this to yourself, then I will be talking through how to overcome this fear, how to really get underneath why we think this way as makers, and some of the psychology behind it so you can really understand the value that you bring with your products and how you are helping other people and what makes your product unique, no matter how simple or complex it really is. And I'm so excited to talk to you about overcoming this fear today. Are you ready to go behind the scenes and learn what it really takes to create consistent sales each and every month with your handmade small business? Join me, Monica Little, self-taught multiple six-figure small business owner and your product business coach, as I give you the insight and inspiration on how to better run your business and increase your sales in ways that you may not have even been aware of, so that your business can truly become what you knew it could be back when you first started. Learn how to let go of perfection, overcome the fear of failure that is holding you back, and finally start taking action so that you walk away feeling like you've cracked the code on how to run a successful small business. You're listening to the Product Biz Podcast. Before we jump in, I do want to remind you that I am offering this awesome giveaway. If you leave a 5-star review for my podcast, I will be highlighting a listener of the week before every single show. So if you want to be featured, and then if you get featured and you hear the episode and you send me your mailing address afterwards, you get a really awesome freebie in the mail. And it's super fun stuff that I just ordered, so you don't want to miss out on it. But please leave a review if you haven't already. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. So before we get in, I have this story that really sets the stage for how this really bombarded me and came to me. And if you've ever laid in bed as a small business owner, not being able to fall asleep, wondering are my products too simple? Do people even care? Then chances are you're probably going to relate to this story too. So I remember this interaction with a quote unquote friend on Instagram when I first started Plant-Based Beauty. She DM'd me about my Heal and Glow facial serum, and I was telling her the benefits of the product and how to use it. And then she asked me, what is it made with? And at this point in time, I didn't have a website. I was only really promoting my products on Instagram, and people would DM me if they were interested to buy it. So I didn't have a website with the details. So she was just asking me hey, what's in it? And I hated this question so much because I knew the answer was only 2 ingredients. My Heal and Glow facial serum has organic moringa seed oil and organic geranium essential oil. That is it. But whenever someone would ask me this, I just felt like a fraud. That's really what it came down to, because I was selling a product and making money on something that felt so simple. I knew it was an amazing product, but it just felt simple and not good enough because of that. And I had this fear already within me just from having a product that is simple and being a relatively new business owner. This is just something that I felt in my bones. But this person that was DMing me, she's the first one that solidified my fears, because after I told her the 2 ingredients that were in it, she replied back and said, well, I can just make it myself. And that was over 3 years ago. And today I remember this more than anything. I can't tell you word for word from memory an exact positive review I've received about my products. Even though I have so many people that message me, I have over 1,200 reviews just on Etsy. I know that people love my products because they tell me all the time, but I can't remember one word for word. But this conversation, when this friend said, well, I can just make it myself, I remember that word for word. And that's how much it stung. So this carried over because then when I started selling at markets, I wasn't confident talking about my products. I had this initial lack of self-confidence, and then it was kind of fueled by someone solidifying that and saying they can just make it themselves. That just made me feel like, gosh, my products are so simple. Everyone's going to think that. And whenever I was at a market, I anticipated that dreaded question of what's it made out of, or how do you make it? And I would just feel hesitant when someone would ask about the ingredients. I would lose confidence once I started to explain the simplicity of it. And I felt the same way when I started to talk about my products more on social media. I knew that the product was great, and I had so much amazing feedback from people who used it, but I just thought it was too simple. And I was scared to see someone like at a market put the product down after hearing the 2 ingredients, scared that in their head they were just thinking, well, I can just make it myself. And the truth is, a lot of small business owners think that because their products are simple, or quote unquote, that anyone can make it, that their products aren't good enough. And if this has happened to you, if you've felt this way, if you've had this type of interaction before, then you're probably like most people, and chances are you shy away from promoting and talking about your products because deep down you might feel like a fraud selling such a simple product. This is one of the biggest fears that small business owners have to overcome. If you don't realize the value that your products bring, then you'll be stuck in the same spot that I was. Scared to talk about your products, scared to hear people's reactions, scared to have a genuine conversation about what the ingredients are and how is the product made, and how likely is your business going to grow with this mindset. I think this fear of our products not being enough because they are simple stems from us being small business owners of handmade products. Most of us like to DIY, to experiment and do things ourselves. We are makers. Like, we love to make things. We probably fell into our own business by trying to make new things at home. That's how I started with skincare. It was just a passion to make skincare products for myself. And then it happened to turn into a business. And since I am a maker and I hand make my products, naturally, being a maker, along the way, I also played with making other items. Like, I experimented with making candles, and I experimented with all sorts of things just for my own fun. Like, not to create a business, but just for fun. The skincare part kind of naturally turned into a business because I started to share about it on social media and people wanted to try it. So it was a passion that was a hobby that turned into a business. But I'm just a maker at heart, and I'm sure you are too, where you just like to experiment and make things. So because we are natural makers and we love to DIY, we think that everyone else is the same. So when we see our products, we think that anyone can make them. But the truth is, sure, there might be some people who would opt to make it themselves, like the friend who sent me that message on Instagram. But most people are not makers and are not like us and would rather not make things themselves. I can relate to this on both sides because I used to love to DIY everything, like I was saying earlier, but now I'm the complete opposite. I used to be a DIY person, but now I'm no longer a DIY person. So let's take it from this new perspective, because this is where most people fall. I want the final product delivered to me. I don't want to spend any of my time researching, buying supplies, experimenting, and trying over and over and over to get it right, to make something that might not even work. I just want the final product. I just want to go online, buy something, and have it delivered to me. Like, I am no longer this DIY person because I found my DIY in skincare and I love to make my products, but I will have my creativity there. And the rest of it, let me just order it online and peacefully receive it in the mail. And let's call it a day. So I told you that I experimented with candles too. And this was just for like me making candles at home. And this was around the same time that I came out with plant-based beauty. But I tried to make my own candles. I researched how to make candles. I bought beeswax. I bought wicks. I bought some other wax. I had essential oils. I melted everything to the right temperature to make the candle. Not to mention that the containers that I melted the wax in were basically ruined because how do you get wax off of a container? I have no idea. When the candle finally was set, I lit the candle and the flame completely tunneled. So if you make candles, you know what that is. But if you don't make candles, basically the flame went straight down the wick to the bottom and didn't burn any of the surface area of the candle. I spent so much time researching how to make a candle, and I bought all of this stuff to experiment with. I read so many blog posts about the wick to container ratio and make sure you do this and that, and it didn't work. So when I hear small business owners that make and sell candles say that their products are so simple, and they say, well, it's just melted wax with some fragrance poured into a container, trust me, it's not simple. Take my story right there of how I tried to make something that you think is simple. And sure, maybe it's not 1,200 ingredients, but I couldn't even get it right. Like it's not as simple as we, as makers, as business owners, as experts in what we make, think it is. It's all about the value that you bring. That is more important than the number of ingredients or how long or how short it takes you to make your product. And the value that you bring, this includes all of the time you spent researching how to do it, all of the time you spent researching the right ingredients and finding the right quality suppliers, all the time you spent experimenting to get the product perfected, all the time you spent with trial and error if it didn't go right the first time. And once you figure all of that out, then it's also the time spent to actually make the product. And packaging, the design, every single component that goes into your product. The value that you bring to a customer. In my example with a candle, I will gladly go online and buy one because the value is I can instantly light a candle, enjoy the ambiance and the beautiful scent in my apartment, and not have to do any of that work on my own and not have to worry about it tunneling, because if I'm buying it from someone, they know how to make candles and they know how to avoid that problem. So that's one example of something that people have told me that they struggle with, that their business is too simple. From their perspective, they are a maker. They love to make things. It seems simple to them, but on the flip side, it's not simple. For our customers, we are giving them an end product that they can enjoy right away in their home without having to make it themselves. There are people who will pay for that, and that is the value that we bring them. All the time, energy invested in learning how to make this product, selling it, designing it, giving them that final product that they just take home and don't have to do any of the work. So think of it this way. Do you think your customers only buy from you depending on how many ingredients or steps are in your product or how complicated it is? Do you think that's the most significant criteria to buy from you? Not how it makes them feel, how it looks, how their partner may say, wow, this piece of art is going to go perfect over the fireplace in our living room. Instead of those components, the first question they ask is, wait, was this complex or was this simple to make? I got to know before I make my buying decision. Of course they aren't. But why do we think that way? The truth is, as small business owners, we question our own value. But who are we to determine what is valuable to another human being? What if that piece of art is going to go over their child's bedroom and create a memory for years? Sure, maybe if you're an artist, you made this piece of art and now it's a replica that's a print piece of your art. And maybe that seems simple to you, that you're just printing off something that you made. But what if that is going over their child's bed and creating a memory for years? That is the value that you bring to them. So I want to reiterate that it's not a matter of how simple or not your products are. It's a matter of the value that you bring. And as makers, We need to realize this. Most people don't want to DIY. Most people don't have fun researching and experimenting like we do. Most people want an instant product that works without having to do the work themselves. And they want to just trust that what they buy is going to work, and that's that. And it doesn't matter if it's simple or not. If it works, then you are providing value. And value is what people pay for. If you really think simple products aren't good enough, think about going to the grocery store and only buying food with a ton of ingredients. Because simple means not good enough, right? You wouldn't get any fruit, you wouldn't get eggs, you wouldn't get any protein. You'd walk by the produce aisle and say, a banana, all that's made of is one ingredient. No, I only buy products made with at least 15 ingredients. You'd miss out on some of the best and healthiest options in the grocery store. So that's the perfect example of simple has no direct correlation with meaning that it's not good enough. Or think of it this way. Can you think of a time where a simple product went viral and made millions? I have a couple examples that I looked up. Here's one that left me kind of just mind blown. Post-it notes. Let's talk about Post-it notes. It's a piece of paper with a sticky on the back, okay? How simple is that? I could make my own Post-it note by cutting a piece of paper into a little square and taping it and writing whatever I needed to write on it. But people, including myself, go to the store and they buy Post-it notes. It's a simple product, but it made millions. Why? Because it brings value. I don't need to do it myself. I don't need scissors. I don't need tape. I don't need to sit here cutting pieces of paper into squares over and over. I just take one and it's done. That is the value that is brought, even though it's simple. I have two other examples that I want to share, which were just, again, like no-brainers. First one is Snuggie, which is basically a blanket, something that everyone has in their home, but with sleeves on it. Very simple product, but it sold millions. This is the best one of all. The Pet Rock also sold millions. Literally, you could go outside and find a rock, but it sold millions. A simple product that people bought. And no one questions if these products are good enough, even though they're simple. No one questions Post-it notes or Snuggies or Pet Rocks. So why are we questioning our own products when we firsthand know the time and energy and love and frustration that goes into it? Why do we sit here wondering if it's good enough? Why do we think that people question that and even worry about that? So I want to ask you, what if there's one person out there that needs your product but never ends up buying it because you thought it was too simple, so you didn't fully show up? So you didn't talk about your products to friends or family. So you didn't show up on Instagram. So you didn't converse with customers at markets. So you didn't apply to different e-commerce marketplaces. What if there was one person that needed it and wasn't able to use your product because you were too scared that it was too simple? That's what I started to ask myself with my small business. And sure, there might be some people who like to DIY and can make the Heal and Glow serum on their own. But I know the time, energy, and research and blood, sweat, and tears that went into my business. And if there's one person out there that I can help with their skincare routine who doesn't have the time to DIY and figure it out themselves, or just wants to buy a finished product that they trust will work, where all the research and testing and experimenting has been completed, then I am bringing them value. And that makes my product worth it, both for me to sell it and for them to pay a price for it. No matter how simple it seems, I took so much time to start to believe that my products were great. And if you struggle with it, here are a couple things that I did. It's a lot of just journaling and reflection and building this confidence in our products. Write out what makes your product unique. Write out the value that you bring, every single step of the process that you do. I know that I have the best, highest quality supplier of organic cold-pressed moringa seed oil, that if someone just goes on Amazon to buy their own, they're probably going to buy an oil that's mixed with a bunch of other oils that the carrier doesn't even tell them, and their product isn't going to be as good as mine. I know that. Sure, the second ingredient is essential oils, geranium essential oil. Anyone can go on and buy an essential oil on Amazon, but I'm sure that essential oil can be an expired oil that got tampered from the heat sitting in a hot warehouse, or they can trust me that I have a supplier where I know this isn't happening. I know that it's a high quality essential oil. It's therapeutic grade, it's organic, and I know that it's the best of the best. If you still struggle with confidence in your products, I challenge you, and this is what one of my very first business coaches, Carla Basinger, she is amazing. Shout out to her. This is one task that she had me do when I first started my small business because I was just really struggling with confidence. She said, get a nice box. So I went on Amazon and I bought this really nice glass box that has this nice little opening door to it, just this really fancy box that made me feel nice. And she said, every time you get a positive review, write it on a slip of paper and put it in the box. So I cut out a ton of little pieces of paper. I should have probably bought some Post-it notes and used that instead, and wrote out every single review. Every time I got one, a customer comment, a review, someone who DM'd me and said something amazing about my products, and I put it in this box. And I saw this box start to fill up. But then when I was having a tough day, I would go and pull out 5 of these slips of paper and remind myself of how much people love my product. And reminded myself that I shouldn't be doubting myself no matter what. So write out the amazing reviews or customer feedback that you receive. If you don't want to get a box, another thing that I just started doing this year, I have a small little notepad where I write out the positive things that have happened in my day. If I get a good customer review, I write it in there. If I have some sort of other crazy synchronicity that happens in life, I write it in there. So have this, so you have something tangible that you can refer to when you're having a tough day, when you're starting to doubt yourself. Have these tools around you to bring yourself back up. And always, always, always write in your journal or somewhere how you serve your customers, even with products that might seem simple to you. What problem are you solving? And every single small business owner is solving some sort of problem. I don't want to hear from anyone that, oh, I sell XYZ, I'm not solving a problem. Like, oh, I'm selling jewelry, I'm not solving a problem. Do you know how much jewelry I buy because it makes me feel good and it increases my confidence? That's a problem that's being solved for me to feel good about myself. Same goes with candles. Well, I'm not really solving a problem. Do you know how nice it is for me at the end of a long day to turn all the lights off, put something on TV, or read a book with a candle on? That makes my self-care routine just amped up to another level. Every single small business is solving some sort of problem. If you don't know what problem that you solve, spend some time journaling that too, because that again helps you to have this confidence in yourself of how are you serving your customers? What value are you bringing to them? And why is your product important? Those are things that we need to know. And I can relate with you because I struggled with every single one of those when I first started my small business. But at the end of the day, we have to remind ourselves, isn't it more important to help one person with your product instead of worrying about the simplicity of your products? Imagine the progress you can make if you stop doubting your products, stop doubting that they were too simple, and started to proudly share about them and the value that they bring. How would your business grow in the next month, or in the next 6 months, or in the next 12 months? How would you show up differently? Thank you so much for spending time with me today inside the Product Biz Podcast. I really hope this episode made an impact on you, and I hope you are leaving this conversation just feeling more confident in yourself and your small business. And I am always going to be here to tell you things straight up, and I don't put a lot of fluff in the words that I say, and I'm very much a straight shooter, but just know I am also your biggest cheerleader, and I only say things that I know will help and that I know will help to grow your business and for you to reach the success that you want to reach. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Please stay tuned for episode number 4, which is the fear of rejection. This is another fear that small businesses that we face day in and day out. So if that resonates with you, head on over to the next episode and please send me a DM on Instagram at Monica Little Coaching. Let me know what you thought about this episode. Thank you all so much, and I will see you on the next episode of the Product Biz Podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out with me here inside the Product Biz podcast. If you love this episode, don't forget to subscribe and to leave a 5-star review. And if you're interested in learning more about Product Biz Academy, my signature group coaching program for handmade small business owners like you who are looking to create consistent online sales with their business, then go to theproductbizpodcast.com to join the waitlist. Doors are currently closed, but you'll be first notified when they reopen. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Product Biz Podcast.